Hello everyone, welcome back. You're watching WION The World is One. This is World DNA, the show that gets you ahead of the rest. I'm Shivan Jha.
And I'm Him Korsara, and on the show, after a second apparent assassination attempt on Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump, US Secret Service Acting Chief Ronald Rowe said that the would-be assassin did not fire any shots. Rowe has also admitted that the US Secret Service needs to undergo a complete overhaul of how it protects residents. This is something we'll explore on the show today.
Also on the show, India has strongly condemned comments made by Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, rejecting his remarks about the suffering of Muslims in India, describing them as lacking an understanding of the situation in India. In a strongly worded statement, India's Ministry of External Affairs urged Iran to look at its own record first before commenting on others. We will bring you the full report on that front as well. Let's get you started with the headlines.
FBI begins urgent investigation into the second assassination attempt on former US President Donald Trump. Suspect charged with federal gun crime charges.
India's Security Cabinet makes return of residents to the north an official war goal, as tens of thousands of residents remain displaced following Hezbollah's attacks since October last year.
Prosecutors in the United States indict employee of one of China's most powerful state-owned defense contractors for hacking NASA, the US military, and other targets.
India's West Bengal government concedes to most demands of agitating doctors. Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee decides to remove Kolkata Police Commissioner, a Deputy Police Commissioner, and two top Health Department officials.
India hits back at Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's comments on Indian minorities, advises Tehran to look at its own record first.
At least 226 people have died, while 77 people still missing in Myanmar due to floods triggered by Typhoon Yagi.
Facebook owner Meta bans RT, Rossiya, Segornia and other Russian state media networks, alleges the outlets use deceptive tactics to carry out influence operations on its platforms.
American gymnast Jordan Childs knocks on the door of Switzerland's Supreme Court to overturn a CAS ruling that stripped her of a bronze in Paris. The medal was subsequently awarded to Romania's Ana Maria. More details are emerging about the assassination attempt, the alleged assassination attempt on Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump. US Secret Service Acting Chief Ronald Rowe has now said that the would-be assassin did not fire any shots,
while adding that their safety measures are working. Rowe said the suspected assassin, Ryan Ruth, did not fire any shots at their agents. He also added that the suspect did not get a clear line of sight on Donald Trump.
No, I think that's
As former President Trump was moving through the Fifth Fairway across the course,
and out of sight of the sixth screen, the agent, who was visually sweeping the area of the sixth screen, saw the subject armed with what he perceived to be a rifle and immediately discharged his firearm. The subject, who did not have line of sight to the former president, fled the scene. He did not fire or get off any shots at our agent.
The Secret Service chief said that they had to draw out a security plan for Trump's unscheduled stop at his golf course on Sunday. He also lauded the agents for executing the security plan successfully when the suspect, Ryan Ruth, was poking his rifle through the bushes.
Rowe further said that the former president is fully aware that he has the highest levels of protection and will be meeting U.S. members of Congress to ensure that the Secret Service gets everything it wants to be successful.
A probe is underway to determine whether Ruth acted alone or was working in cahoots.
Keep walking!
Police body cam footage released Monday shows the moment officers arrested the man suspected of attempting to assassinate Donald Trump on Sunday. The former president and Republican presidential candidate was not hurt in the incident. 58-year-old Ryan Routh was charged with 2 gun-related crimes in federal court Monday. Investigators say he was spotted with a rifle hiding in the bushes at Trump's golf course in Florida on Sunday, while Trump was playing several hundred yards away. Mobile phone records show he was in the vicinity of the golf course for more than 11 hours before being spotted by authorities. Ron Rowe is the acting director of the Secret Service.
As former President Trump was moving through the fifth fairway across the course and out of sight of the sixth green, the agent, who was visually sweeping the area of the sixth green, saw the subject armed with what he perceived to be a rifle and immediately discharged his firearm. The subject, who did not have line of sight to the former president, fled the scene. He did not fire or get off any shots at our agent.
The initial counts against Routh include possession of a firearm as a convicted felon and possession of a firearm with an obliterated serial number. This allows investigators to keep him in custody as they continue to examine a loaded assault-style rifle with a scope, a digital camera, and other items he left behind. They said they are also going through his social media accounts and interviewing family members. President Biden said Monday the Secret Service needs more help. The acting head of the agency said he remains in close communication with the White House and Congress on its needs, though he said Trump is getting the highest level of protection it provides. Jason Russell, a former Secret Service agent, told Reuters the agency is doing everything it can to protect the former president.
So there's certainly increase in the protective tempo. It's just a matter of, you can't eliminate all threats. That's just the reality of the world that we live in.
The incident comes just 2 months after another gunman fired at Trump during a July 13th rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, grazing his ear with a bullet. The Secret Service director quit in the days afterward, following pressure from Congress.
Tech billionaire Elon Musk was slammed by users on X, his platform, for posting a tweet of not having any assassination attempt on US President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris.
Now, the tech billionaire, who has been an ardent supporter of Trump, took to X on Sunday and posted that no one is even trying to assassinate Biden or Kamala, with an emoji of a face and a raised eyebrow. The Tesla CEO took down the post after widespread criticism by users saying that his post could incite violence against Biden and Harris by his followers. In response, the Secret Service said that it is fully aware of Musk's post and added that it is investigating all threats to the president and vice president. The White House slammed Musk for what it called an irresponsible rhetoric, while adding that violence should never be joked about or encouraged. And for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani brings us the latest on the second gunman. Listen to this.
Ryan Routh's past behavior and activities definitely raised several red flags. According to security officials, they were missed, including his 2002 conviction of possessing weapons of mass destruction, his 1997 guilty plea of larceny, and his calls for violence and advocating for the assassination of former President Donald Trump in his self-published book. Additionally, his erratic behavior, changing multiple living locations, and failed endeavors really should have raised those red flags, according to these security officials. But unfortunately, they were missed, and he was able to get so close to the former president on his golf course on Sunday.
Susan further explains the implications of this incident on President Trump's campaign moving forward. Listen to this.
Yeah, security experts say the Routh incident highlights that enhanced security measures for the former president is needed, notably when he's in non-secure locations like golf courses moving forward. However, Trump's security is not clear whether or not it will increase or not. And there is only talk about what should be done and how all of this should move forward. Additionally, the Secret Service may reconsider protocols for handling lone wolf actors and mentally ill individuals to ensure seamless coordination with law enforcement officials to prevent similar incidents from happening. But less than 2 months to the election, it's clear that the magnifying glass is once again on the Secret Service, and there is growing concern about the safety of former President Donald.
A United States official has called any plan to replace Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant in the middle of the war for political reasons crazy.
And this is as media reports claimed that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is considering to fire Gallant and add new Hope Party leader Gideon Sa'ar to create wider unity cabinet. Now, according to the Times of Israel, a US official told reporters that replacing Gallant in the middle of the war in Gaza and on the brink of a full-on war with Hezbollah on the northern front would be crazy. The US official added that Gallant's experience in his current role was important and argued that the reasons behind his potential firing are political.
A Channel 12 report citing unnamed political sources said that Netanyahu was interested in bringing Gideon Sa'ar into the government without using him to replace Gallant. However, according to Can News, other options are also being discussed. Sa'ar may be appointed as foreign minister, while the current top diplomat Israel Katz would be appointed as the defense minister.
When asked about the reports by WION, Israeli government spokesperson David Menzer declined to comment.
First question here I can see is from Jodie Cohen at World is One News in India. What can you tell us about reports that Gideon Sa'ar might be given a ministerial role? Thank you for that question, Jodie. We won't be dealing with any of those political type questions during these briefings. No doubt things will become clear later in the day or after that, but we don't deal with those sorts of political questions here during these briefings. But thank you for asking.
Reports that Netanyahu was considering firing Gallant shook the political arena and also sent Israeli financial markets diving on Monday. Gallant, meanwhile, met US Special Envoy Amos Hochstein to discuss the rising tensions with Hezbollah. Gallant told the US envoy that only military action against Hezbollah will enable the return of tens of thousands of evacuated Israelis to their homes.
Now, he added that the possibility for an agreement is running out as Hezbollah continues to tie itself to Hamas and refuses to end the conflict. Now, for more on this, we're now being joined by Adrian Calamel, live from New York. He's a fellow at the Arabian Peninsula Institute and Middle Eastern scholar with a forthcoming book on Hezbollah. So, thank you so much for joining us on World DNA. Always a pleasure to have you with us. I want to start by asking you, Netanyahu is widely reported to have decided to fire Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, as we just mentioned. The United States says that to do this in the middle of the war and on the brink of a full-blown war with Hezbollah, that would be absolutely crazy. What I want to understand is what kind of an impact can Gallant's ouster have on the ongoing tensions?
Thank you for having me, first of all. This story has really morphed over the day. First, they were talking about a direct replacement for Gallant. Then it's shifted to him taking on different, having people coming in and filling different roles. I know people were pointing to political reasons, but if you look at elections aren't slotted till the May-June time frame in Israel, so I don't see it there. The Israeli military war cabinet just met and added a fourth objective about with the Gaza war, and it's to make sure that the Israeli citizens that have been displaced are repatriated to the villages to the north. So it seems like the messaging with the defense as Gallant and Netanyahu's aims and Israel's aims, they're kind of working in synergy. So I'm not really sure where this message is coming from. I have some of a cynical view, and the original story, it's connected to hostages and really the next front of this war, and that is kind of figuring out what's going on with that northern border.
Mr. Calmel, if we were to just go with the reports that are coming as of now until we get more clarity on that, the response from the US side has not been subdued. They've said it would be crazy. I wanted to get your thoughts on this. Do you feel the US would be exerting any kind of pressure on Netanyahu to retract his decision if he's already taken it to oust Gallant?
Well, I would hope that the United States would not and would let the Israeli government, which is going to prosecute this war and without outside interference. But if Gallant is replaced, as some have suggested, it is a mistake. I don't think there's any way to look at this. He has prosecuted a war in Gaza that's been so difficult, minimizing civilian casualties. So you're on a 1-to-1 ratio as opposed to like a 4 to 5 to 1 ratio. And he's going to be, if Israel goes north, they're going to experience the same problems that they had and the same challenges that they had in Gaza. But it's going to be on a much larger scale.
Right. And Mr. Calmel, is Gallant more conducive to the United States' efforts and hopes for a ceasefire? Because as we do know, U.S. elections are around the corner, and to be able to secure a ceasefire in the given time frame, that would be another feather in the cap of the current government.
It would be a feather in the cap of the current government, but with a ceasefire, it all comes back to Hamas accepting some type of deal that returns the hostages without some really preconditions that would allow them to regroup, reconstitute, and then launch another October 7th. So the hostages are, first and foremost, they need to be returned. And then I think Israel is of the view is once they're returned, then we can get really into the ceasefire arrangements. But whenever they get into these discussions, Hamas continues to move the goalposts, and less discussion about the hostages and more discussions about Philadelphia corridor or this or that or the other thing.
All right, Mr. Adrian Calmel, thank you so much for joining us here on World DNA and sharing all your thoughts. There'll be lots more to discuss. Would love to have you on the show again.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
All right, moving further from here. Efforts to secure a Gaza ceasefire and release of hostages have gathered momentum. According to the U.S. State Department, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken is traveling to Egypt today.
Now, during his visit, Blinken is scheduled to meet with Egyptian officials to discuss ongoing efforts to reach a ceasefire in Gaza, to secure the release of all hostages, alleviate the suffering of the Palestinian people, and help establish broader regional security.
The US, Egypt, along with Qatar are still working on a revised proposal. US State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller said that the mediators are ensuring that it's a proposal that can get the parties to an ultimate agreement. At present, Miller said the mediators are working together to decide on what the proposal will contain. The framework now being discussed is reportedly shorter instead of 3 phases of 6 weeks each.
Meanwhile, UN Senior Coordinator for Gaza on Monday called for an immediate ceasefire, the unconditional release of all hostages, as well as unrestricted humanitarian access.
Time is slipping away as a man-made humanitarian crisis has turned Gaza into the abyss. It cannot be repeated enough. We need an immediate ceasefire, the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages, and unimpeded, continuous humanitarian access to deliver aid at scale throughout the Gaza Strip. The continued lack of effective protection for civilians in Gaza is unconscionable. The infrastructures that civilians rely on must be protected and their essential needs met.
Now, the fear of the war in Gaza spilling into a wider regional conflict, it's not completely subsided. Hamas chief Yahya Sinwar congratulated Yemen's Houthi group for its missile attack on Israel's Tel Aviv over the weekend. The attack, Sinwar said, sent a message to the foe. Also, tensions persist along the Israel-Lebanon border. Israel's Iron Dome defense system intercepted rockets near the border. This as Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant warned the window for closing for a diplomatic solution to the standoff with Hezbollah.
Now, this video that you have on the screens right now was released by the Israeli Defense Forces. It is said to show strikes on Hezbollah targets in Lebanon.
Now, during his trip to Italy, the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer lauded Italy's efforts to fight illegal immigration.
Starmer said that the two countries will work closely to smash the people smuggling gang.
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer hailed Italy's efforts to tackle illegal immigration during a trip to Rome on Monday, coming a day after more migrants died trying to reach England in a small boat. At a joint press conference, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni said she and Starmer agreed in their talks that cooperation is key in dealing with the issue that's affecting all of Europe.
We have agreed that the first thing to be done is to intensify our fight against human trafficking. And we need to do so by further uniting our forces and enhancing security.
Starmer said the two countries would share intelligence and work more closely together to smash the people smuggling gangs. He added that they've pledged to deepen their security cooperation and announced more than $660 million of investment in Britain by Italian companies. Earlier, at the National Coordination Centre for Migration, he praised Italy's efforts to prevent migrants from embarking on their journeys, saying it helped Italy bring a 60% drop in irregular arrivals by sea.
Here there's been some quite dramatic reductions, so I want to understand how that came about. It looks as though that's down to the upstream work that's being done in some of the countries where people are coming from. I've long believed, by the way, that prevention and stopping people travelling in the first place is one of the best ways to deal with this particular issue. So I'm very interested to know how that upstream work went.
Starmer also said he was very interested in Italy's deal with Albania, which will see some asylum claims processed in the Balkan state, which is not an EU member. But he said that deal had yet to become operational, so his government would wait to see the results.
The political drama following Venezuela's contested elections is far from over. Over the weekend, top Venezuelan leaders accused the United States of attempting to destabilize the country.
Venezuela's Interior and Justice Minister accused American intelligence body, the CIA, of heading a plot to assassinate President Nicolas Maduro.
La CIA está al frente de esta operación.
The CIA is leading this operation, and that does not surprise us. But they, the National Intelligence Center of Spain, have always maintained a low profile, knowing that the CIA operates in this area. These two detainees even tell us about a group of mercenaries they are looking for to bring to Venezuela with very clear objectives to assassinate President Nicolas Maduro, Vice President Delcy Rodriguez, myself and another group of comrades who are leading our party and our revolution.
Nicolas Maduro, a la vicepresidenta Delcy Rodriguez.
However, Washington has refuted these accusations. On Sunday, U.S. State Department spokesperson denied any involvement in the alleged plot. However, U.S. authorities have confirmed that an American military official has been detained in Venezuela. As per reports, 2 other U.S. citizens have also been detained in the Latin American nation.
This rebuttal comes after Venezuelan authorities revealed that they'd arrested 6 foreign nationals, including 3 Americans, 2 Spaniards and a Czech citizen.
Officials also said that they had seized 400 rifles, allegedly meant for terrorist activities. The government has claimed these rifles came from the US. Like the US, Spain has rejected allegations of its involvement in any attempt to destabilize the Maduro government. However, an official reaction is awaited from the Czech Republic authorities.
Amid the latest twist in a long-drawn standoff between Maduro and the Western nations, EU Foreign Affairs Chief Josep Borrell has once again emphasized that the European Union does not recognize Maduro as the legitimate president of Venezuela.
We do not recognize Maduro as having democratic legitimacy because we do not recognize him as having won these elections, just as we did not recognize him as having won the previous ones. He has de facto power, yes, but we do not recognize him as a legitimate ruler, and therefore we do not recognize him as a ruler who has democratically obtained power.
And with that, it's time now for a short break.
Don't go anywhere, come right back. World DNA continues on the other side.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one. Everyone loves a contest. But sport isn't just about victory and defeat. When the GOATs in sport speak, you hear it first on WION.
You have to play good cricket over a period of time.
I should push myself right out of the damn tournament.
We go beyond the stats. Our stories are quoted the world over.
At WION, sport is part of our DNA. Come, join us on this journey. Weekdays 6:30 p.m. IST, 1 p.m. GMT.
Namaste. Hello friends. We did Dr. Subhash Chandra show, popularly known as DSC show, for 4 years from August 2014 to August 2018. 28 states of Bharat. Of course, we reached out to all of you in 190 countries across the world. The show was very successful. Each episode was being watched by almost 25 million people every week. For past 6 years, the demand of the show has never died down. People write to us, people ask for the show to restart again. Hence, we are beginning the show once again on All Z Network, also on WION, which is the global network channel from India. Again, thank you for your love and affection. See you soon at Subhash Chandra Show.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
Welcome back to World DNA. Thank you so much for staying with us. Lots lined up for you on this side of the show. Let's get started with the headlines first.
India's West Bengal government concedes to most demands of the agitating doctors. Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee decides to remove Kolkata Police Commissioner, a Deputy Police Commissioner and 2 top health department officials.
India hits back at Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's comments on Indian minorities, advises Tehran to look at its own record first.
India may resume direct passenger flights to China after a 4-year halt, signaling a potential thaw in relations. Flights between the two countries were halted during the COVID-19 pandemic.
FBI begins urgent investigation into the second assassination attempt on former US President Donald Trump. Suspect charged with federal gun crime charges.
Israel's security cabinet makes the return of residents to the north an official war goal as tens of thousands of residents remain displaced following Hezbollah's attacks on Israel since October last year.
At least 226 people died while 77 people are still missing in Myanmar due to floods triggered by Typhoon Yagi.
Facebook owner Meta bans RT, Russia and other Russian state media networks, alleges the outlets used deceptive tactics to carry out influence operations on its platforms.
American gymnast Jordan knocks on the door of Switzerland's Supreme Court to overturn a CAS ruling that stripped her of a bronze in Paris. The medal was subsequently awarded to Romania's Anna Maria. Now, India has pushed back at the recent comments made by Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei on Indian Muslims, calling them unacceptable.
And this is as the Iranian leader clubbed Indian Muslims with those in Gaza, talking about their sufferings in his post on social media on the birth anniversary of Prophet Muhammad.
Now, India's foreign ministry responded saying it strongly deplored the comments, calling the comment misinformed and unacceptable. The statement urged countries commenting on minorities to look at their own record first.
In a social media post, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei said, "We cannot consider ourselves to be Muslims if we are oblivious to the suffering that a Muslim is enduring in Myanmar, Gaza, India or any other place." Now, the comments came amid an escalation of hostilities between Iran and Israel. India shares close ties with both nations. India's 80% of oil comes from West Asia, while it has a strong strategic relationship with Israel, especially in terms of defense and security. Iran's President Masoud Pezeshkian has vowed to ensure that the morality police will no longer bother women.
Now, his remarks to the media came on the second anniversary of Mahsa Amini's death in custody.
The 22-year-old Amini was an Iranian Kurd woman who died in police custody on the 16th of September 2022, days after the morality police arrested her in Tehran. She was arrested for not covering her head with a hijab, as it was a violation of the Islamic Republic's strict dress code for women. Her death triggered nationwide protests, during which hundreds of people, including security officers, were killed. The protests also led to the arrest of thousands of demonstrators.
During Pezeshkian's first address to the media after assuming office in July, he said the morality police were not supposed to confront women. He said, "I will follow up so they don't bother them."
Pezeshkian replaced the ultra-conservative Ibrahim Raisi, who died in a helicopter crash in May. Pezeshkian had vowed to completely oppose police patrols enforcing the mandatory hijab headscarf on women, along with easing long-standing internet restrictions in the country. Over the years, Iran has strictly controlled the use of internet, restricting popular social media platforms such as Facebook and X. Harsher rules were imposed following 2019 protests against fuel price hikes and also during the demonstrations triggered following Mahsa Amini's death.
Pezeshkian during the address also mentioned that his government was working towards easing online restrictions, especially on social media. And India's West Bengal government has agreed to most of the demands which were put forth by the striking doctors.
Chief Minister of West Bengal, Mamata Banerjee, made the announcement after meeting the doctors in Kolkata. Banerjee said she has agreed to 3 of the 5 demands put forth by the doctors, which include the removal of Kolkata Police Commissioner Goyal, the police chief of the city's North Zone, Abhishek Kumar, and 2 officials of the health department. Also, she accepted the demands for the upgrade in hospital infrastructure, earmarking over rupees 100 crore for it.
Now, this came after a 2-hour-long meeting with the protesting doctors, followed by another 2.5 hours of type out to the minutes of the meeting. The doctors came to the table after 2 failed attempts.
Mamata Banerjee said, "We have agreed 99%. What else can we do? We have requested the junior doctors to come back to work so that the common citizens won't suffer."
The impasse over the doctors' demand for justice in the rape and murder of a 31-year-old doctor has been on for more than a month now. On the orders of the Supreme Court, doctors across India went back to work except that of West Bengal. They, in fact, doubled down their protests.
All right, next up, let's bring you a glimpse of what's happening in technology. Kazakhstan is planning to boost the output of metals needed for EV batteries. Kanat Sarlapev, Kazakhstan's Minister of Industry and Construction, has said the country is issuing hundreds of new exploration licenses to attract fresh investment in the sector. The country is already a significant exporter of alloy, gold and copper and is now wanting to gain market share in battery materials. This includes lithium, cobalt, manganese, nickel and graphite amid rising demand for the materials. Understand that Kazakhstan has deposits of 90% of the elements of the periodic table. The country already supplies uranium and titanium globally. It also holds 2% of the world's nickel reserves. Kazakhstan, however, is yet to tap into its deposits of lithium, but exploration is underway. Meanwhile, this year, so far, the number of issued licenses is 487 compared to 397 for all of last year.
An AI-based early warning system is helping reduce death risk in hospitalized patients. ChartWatch, an AI-based system developed by a team of researchers led by an Indian origin scientist, identifies hospitalized patients who are at the risk of rapid health deterioration. ChartWatch tracks patients' health and sends real-time alerts and daily emails to the healthcare workers. The team also created a care pathway for high-risk patients, which prompted increased monitoring by nurses and enhanced communication between nurses and physicians.
A nursery in Dubai is utilizing AI and technology. Children at the Friendly Early Childhood Center can be seen having conversations with a robot dog and using interactive whiteboards, sandbox and floor. Ekaterina Al-Bakri, Executive Director of the High-Tech Nursery, says the idea is to combine advanced technology with traditional learning methods. The admission at the nursery, however, is not cheap. Parents will have to shell around $21,000 as annual fee. All eyes are on the US Federal Reserve this week. The Fed is widely expected to begin a crucial pivot this week, lowering interest rates for the first time in more than 4 years.
This as it pursues a rare soft landing for the US economy. As the US labor market shows signs of weakening and inflation appears to be under control, policymakers are largely anticipated to lower their benchmark lending rate by 0.25 percentage point when they conclude their two-day meeting on Wednesday. Market participants, including JP Morgan Chase, an economist, and William Dudley, a former president of the New York Federal Reserve, are gearing up for a stronger half-point shift. It's a crucial turning point that will start freeing the US economy from a long period of high borrowing costs. The Fed also expected to send a signal prepared to offer further relief to American individuals and companies in the coming months.
Mark Zandi, chief economist at Moody's Analytics, said this is a big plus for Americans and the entire global economy. Zandi then added that it goes a long way to take the Fed's boot off the economy's neck and allow it to move forward. It's already helping, with stock prices higher than they would be otherwise.
Yet the path ahead for policymakers in the US economy remains deeply uncertain. Many investors and some economists worry the Fed has already waited too long, putting the labor market and economic growth on thin ice and injecting volatility into financial markets. The latter is on display in the bond market as traders revive bets on a half-point rate cut. The Fed's decision-making process is also uncomfortably caught in the crosshairs of the November presidential election. For now, though, all eyes will be on the Fed's dot plot projections to understand the central bank's monetary policy path. And as China's trade surplus expands and the US faces a widening trade deficit, the IMF is asking a question. What's driving these imbalances?
Is this a new chapter in the global economic rivalry, or are deeper macroeconomic forces at play? Take a look at this next report for more details.
China's widening trade surplus and the United States' growing trade deficit have raised concerns over global economic imbalances. According to the IMF, China's trade and surplus has surged since the pandemic, while the US deficit has deepened. In 2023, China's surplus stood between 2 to 4% of GDP, fueled by weakened domestic demand and increased global exports. At the same time, US domestic demand surged, with fiscal deficits rising and household savings rates dropping by half, creating a mirror image of the two largest economies' external balances. While China's trade surplus today is smaller relative to its GDP compared to the early 2000s, it remains significant due to China's larger share of the global economy. In the early 2000s, China's rapid industrialization led to a surge in exports, often referred to as the China shock. The IMF highlights that the macroeconomic drivers, such as weak Chinese domestic demand due to the property market downturn and strong US demand driven by government spending, are the primary forces behind these imbalances. China's increased saving alongside reduced imports contrasts with US dis-saving and elevated real interest rates, resulting in opposing trade trends for both countries. Industrial policies in China, particularly its 5,400 subsidy programs from 2009 to 2022, have drawn global attention. However, the IMF states their impact on aggregate external balances is modest. These subsidies, which focus on sectors like semiconductors, automobiles, and green technology, have increased China's exports by just 1%. However, the IMF stresses that global imbalances are mostly homegrown. Both China and the US need domestic solutions. China through macroeconomic reforms and the US through fiscal adjustments to address their respective surpluses and deficits.